Okay, I don't want to spend like a whole ton of time talking about men having sex with men, but there's a couple of things I would like to point out really quickly. One of them is that if a lot of my students have seen the movie 300, which is about ancient Greek soldiers, not that same relative time and place as Plato, actually, if you've seen the movie 300, it's the same general vicinity. So in the movie, I saw the movie in theaters in 2007, and in the movie they say, we don't have sex with boys like they do in Athens, which is where Plato lives. And I laughed because yeah, they did. They definitely did. They're not going to put that in the movie, but in ancient Greece, those 300 soldiers were having sex with each other. Um, but in the movie they were afraid people would think that, and so they said it out loud. They were like, we don't do that. And I was like, yes you do. The ancient Greece was like that. Sparta also was like that. um, the soldiers would have sex with each other. And another thing to point out about the differences between cultures is in modern day America, we often think of men who have sex with men as being sort of like women. In movies and TV shows, they enjoy shopping, and they speak in high voices, and they get their nails done, and they care about art and so girly things and whatever. But that is again that's a stereotype that's created locally. If you go back to ancient Greece, they wouldn't have thought there was anything feminine about men having sex with men. They would have been like, "What are you talking about? There's no women here at all. This is the most masculine thing you can do. It's all dudes." So like the point is that these ideas that you have don't necessarily translate back, and that life is pretty complicated. So okay, so now that I think I've got that, and this is a subject, I realize this is complicated, it's difficult, it's tricky. So feel free, to ask questions and discuss these things on the discussion board. Be respectful, don't be ugly. And I'm going to keep an eye on people to make sure they're not being ugly and that they are being respectful. But, it's a complicated thing, and that's what this story is about. So, your opinions on this would be welcome as long as, you're not being a dirtbag. Don't be mean. Don't be mean, because wherever you go, there you are. Okay. All right. People said I shouldn't have taught this to students, but I don't. I think I should. I think it's important. I think this is like central. This is like a central building block of Western civilization, and I think you should know that it exists. Um, all right. So now that we are armed with this additional information, let us. I think we're ready to continue now, right? I think that's it. Do I have anything else to say? I mean, I could do stuff like this all day and talk about it all day. That yacht story. I have a lot of stories like that. Um, I think I'm done. I think that's it. I think I got it. Oh, I will say one more thing. Um, Also, when you think about men having sex with men, you probably have in your mind certain sex acts. Um, the people in ancient Greece were probably not doing what you think they were doing. They were having a kind of sex that is you've probably never heard of. I certainly had never heard of it, and I will not go into a lot of detail here in this YouTube video. But if you're interested in looking it up, it is called intercrural sex. Intercrural, CRURAL, something like that. Anyway, that's the kind of sex they were most likely having, and it's not probably what you're picturing. Again, whole other time period, whole other culture. One time I was teaching this in class, and then because I just quickly was like, they're not even having the kind of sex that you think they're having. And one of my students was like, what kind of sex are they having? And I said intercrural. And one of my students looked it up, and he was like, I got a video. And I was like, do not play that video. Anyway, you're learning things, right? It's exciting. I don't know. All right. I'm so thirsty. Sorry, I don't know if you've noticed, but the last like four videos, the last like 4 days of videos, I'm making all on the same day because I have to prep this stuff for the English department ahead of time. I don't want to, but they want me to have it sort of locked and loaded before the semester starts. So you're probably watching this over 2 weeks, but I'm doing all of this in like one day. All right, I'm just changing my shirt. That's why I keep making jokes, and change my glasses and stuff so I can be like, ooh, I'm a different person, but I'm not. It's the same day. All right, let's go take a look at this. So to come back to this thing, it says, right? That someone in love wants to make the person they love weak so that they can control them. He is always employed in reducing him to inferiority. And the ignorant is inferior to the wise, the coward to the brave, the slow of speech to the speaker, the dull of the clever. So his point is that he's going to want is that someone in love with you is going to try to make you. They're going to pick you out because you're weak, or they're going to try to make you weak so they can control you, and that's not good for you. That's not the best, right? Because the lover, the person who is in love with you, wants pleasure, right? That the inborn desire for pleasure, right? What Sigmund Freud calls the id. Um, but that's different from what is best, right? You want the cake, not the salad. So it's different from what is best. And actually, the person in love with you wants you to be worse than you are right now so that they can control you. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at that. Okay. These, and not only these, are the mental defects of the beloved. Defects which, when implanted by nature, are necessarily a delight to the lover, and when not implanted, he must contrive to implant them in him if he would not be deprived of his fleeting joy. So I already said that. You either pick out somebody who's weak, or you find somebody and you make them weak. I'm sure you guys can think of so many examples of abusive relationships where this is exactly what happens. In abusive relationships, people want you to be weak. They cut you off from your family, and they don't want you learning about things and getting smarter. They discourage you from going to college because it's going to make you smart, and smart people are harder to control. So yeah, I just think it's fascinating. I love Plato so much. I really This is difficult. And if you're watching these videos, and God, I don't know if anybody's watching these videos, but if you're watching these videos, thank you for making it this far, because this shit really matters to me. And sometimes I just feel all alone in this house doing things. So hopefully you will comment and discuss things in the discussion board. But whew, I really appreciate you. This is a lot of hours of Plato insanity, and thanks for joining me on this. All right. So he says, uh, and therefore he cannot help being jealous, and will debar his beloved from the advantages of society which would make a man of him, especially from that society which would have given him wisdom, and thereby cannot fail to do him great harm. So he doesn't want him going to school, doesn't want him learning stuff. That is to say, in his excessive fear lest he should come to be despised in his eyes, he will be compelled to banish him from divine philosophy. Meaning, if he loves you, he's not going to want you learning philosophy because you'll be too smart for him. And there is no greater injury which he can inflict upon him than this. Of course, Plato, the philosopher, says the worst thing you can do to somebody is prevent them from learning philosophy. I'm sure you're rolling your eyes. It's a little silly. But that's Socrates' point, is that they want you to be weak, and learning philosophy makes you strong. We are learning philosophy because we are strong. All right. Cool. He will contrive that his beloved shall be wholly ignorant, and in everything shall look to him. He is to be the delight of the lover's heart and a curse to himself. Verily, meaning truly, a lover is a profitable guardian and associate for him in all that relates to his mind. So his point is that this Socrates is on a very different subject than Lysias, talking about the dangers of this kind of thing. And by the way, I hope you notice from my examples, this is what I'm talking about when I say you need to if you need to add your own thing into the essay. Socrates has been talking about this whole time. Lysias too has been talking about the ancient Greek practice of older men taking young male lovers. But you look at this paragraph, and it seems like it's about men and the kinds of women that they like in modern day America. So that's what I'm talking about with these essays, where you need to kind of bring it into it's your paper. So if you're quoting this guy, it's not a history report where you need to find out about what life was like back then. You're supposed to apply it to modern day America. And to me, it's fascinating that the same thing that older men wanted from younger men in ancient Greece turns out to be exactly what men in modern day society want out of women when they're heterosexual and trying to find somebody. So I think it's interesting. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for surviving with me.